Hello, hello, hello out there. Welcome to week 5. It is the 5th week of this year, and I'm excited to welcome you to another episode of Amplify Your Brilliance, a weekly time where I give you the tools to activate your faith as you start and or grow your businesses. And I'm beyond excited to pour more into you. So this week, our topic is, you ready? Leverage so you can scale. Leverage so you can scale. And as you're coming in, tell me hello, tell me where you're from, my ladies that join me live. If I say anything that resonates with you, whether you're live or you come on back and watch the replay, I want to know. If you have questions, post them here because you never know if something you post may be a topic for one of our conversations here on Amplify Your Brands. So I'm here with you live every Monday night at 7 p.m. EST. So I want to encourage you to come live because if you ask a question, then I might just coach you while I'm here. So 30 minutes of actionable, if that's a word, content to really help you amplify the brilliance that God has placed inside of you. So if you've missed any episode, I want to encourage you to go back. This is the 5th one. I build on the next. Go into my YouTube channel, which is nrjnetwork.com, and you can watch any episodes 1 through 4 that you've missed. And you can watch the replay. You can catch some other videos. But the goal is this, Esther is our guide for this year. Our goal for 2021, this is our for such a time as this year. And so if you see me looking over here, by the way, I'm looking for comments. So I'm going to give you everything you need to go after your for such a time as this. So let's get into our conversation for today as we talk about leverage to scale. So this is a term we all hear around business, right? But it has a bigger context than just business. And I need you to get this. Hey, Levon in Maryland. I want you to get that this is so much bigger than just your business when I talk about leverage to scale. So first, let me talk to you. And I looked up the definitions for leverage and scale. So leverage means to use for gain. And I'm looking at my notes. To use for gain. So if I wanted to get an example. So this is my candle, right? Candle. Everybody has candles, right? Well, sometimes when you have a top on a candle and you can't get it open, what do? Now, if you're like me, I go get a butter knife and I am trying to get that butter knife in the right place. And what am I doing? I'm leveraging the butter knife underneath this so I can gain the momentum to get the top off of it. Do you get that? So even if you have a Coke bottle and you shake it up and you open it, what happens is that soda on the inside that's bubbling over is leveraging itself. Y'all get that? Because it's gaining momentum inside that bottom. You open it and it's on and popping. So anytime we're talking about leverage to scale in your business, it's leveraging what you're doing. How do you do it more in a different way so that you can make more revenue? And it's a term that we hear all the time, leverage to scale. And so scale just, means to reach the highest point or to rise in a graduated series. So these are definitions from Webster. Okay. So as I'm talking about this for you here and Amplify Your Brains, I really want you to understand this. See, God has given you gifts and talents. Those of you that have been around me, I call that DNA, distinct natural ability. That is what you've got to leverage. And can I tell you that I've been doing this now for 28 years? The thing that I see so many women do, and tell me if this is you, and yeah, I might be stepping on your toes a little bit. I see so many women that are not fully leveraging their DNA. And so before you can scale it, you got to leverage it. So before I even tell you how to leverage it, let me break down scale for you a little more. Okay. So again, those of you that have been in my community a couple years ago, God dropped this Bible verse in my spirit. It's Genesis 1:28. Let me read it to you I see my hair is shedding hair everywhere. Out of my King James Bible, 128, Genesis 1:28 says, then God blessed them and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion. Now it goes on further than that. But let me first tell you, when God first dropped this in my spirit, now I'm 51. He put this in my spirit when I was about 49, a couple years ago. And anytime I hear be fruitful and multiply, I think that meant, I don't know about you, I'm gonna tell the truth. I thought that meant having children. And I don't have any children of my own. I have phenomenal bonus children, but I've not birthed a baby myself. Okay. And by the way, I call my stepchildren my bonus children because they were a bonus added blessing when I got married. I actually have grandchildren because of my bonus children. So when God dropped this in my spirit, I thought, okay, I don't want to be disobedient, Lord, but I don't know if I'm ready to get married. I mean, I'm married. I don't know if I'm want to have kids at 49. Which meant if I was pregnant at 49, I've been having that baby at 50. Unless you're Janet Jackson, you got a whole team of people around you. Yeah. So, by the way, I see more people joining. So tell me, hey, as you come in. And so what God began to show me is he wasn't talking about just birthing babies. See, I want you to get this. It says, then God blessed them. Then God blessed them. See, when you were born to this earth, God put DNA in you, distinct natural ability. He blessed you with certain gifts and talents. Now, it next says, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply. So, what God began to show me is that He put gifts and talents in you for you to be fruitful and multiply. Hey, Alexis in North Carolina, right? He gave you gifts and talents to multiply them, meaning a couple things. One is to grow it. Two is to bless all the people that need your gift. See, God gave you gifts and talents. He put you here on purpose with a purpose. There's no coincidence that you were born at this time of the world. There are people that need that gift in you, and God knew exactly who was going to need it, they were going to need it, when they were going to need it. My question is, have you done the work to get clear? Oh, that's the first part of leverage, y'all. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Let me just make sure you understand this. This is how you scale. Now, here we go. Be fruitful and multiply. So, are you leveraging, number one, what He blessed you with? Number two, when we talk about scale, talk about scale. He says, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion." Subdue means to take over. Have dominion. Do you guys get that? So when you start to live as a highest and best version who God created you to be, oh, you're gonna have dominion, boo. You're gonna have a dominion in a lane that God created for you. So let me break down leverage a little more because when God blessed you, He really put you in alignment for three things. And I want to make sure you understand this because if you don't get why you're here, then what are you doing? If you're not fully leveraging the gifts God placed in you, then I need you to understand you are holding up not just your purpose, but you're somebody's answered prayer. And every day you don't stand in the full power of it, you're late for work. That's one of the things I love about Esther's story. So, as we start this conversation for week 5, our theme is changing. So, our first theme, and I told you they have 7 themes we're going to cover this year. Our first theme was for the first 4 weeks. Our first theme was a woman of strength and dignity. Today we start theme 2, which is keep your eyes on the prize. This is a journal, by the way. So keep your eyes on the prize. And it's interesting that it's Black History Month, right? And so when I think of keep your eyes on the prize, it makes me think of our ancestors. So me as an African American woman, of course, I'm thinking about my ancestors as we start Black History Month, but I don't want you to miss your blessing. If you're Caribbean, if you're Jewish, if you're Italian, your ancestors went through things too. If you're wherever your nationality is, wherever you are from, there are things that, especially we as women, that we had to go through to get to where we are. That's what you call subdue it. Have dominion. It's not settling for good enough. It's going after all that's available to you, all that God created for you. That's why when my ancestors were slaves, they weren't going to settle for that. They were fighting for their freedom. And we owe our very legacy, our very lives to their fight. So when you think about the people coming after you, what are you fighting for in this moment so that they can have what they need because you stood in the gap for them? Now, going back to what I said, that is why I love Esther. See, Esther could have easily, she became queen, as you guys know. Again, if you haven't heard the whole story, go back, watch week 1. I'm not going to walk through the whole story right now. But the thing I love about Esther, she could have been silent and stayed queen and not helped her people at all. But she realized she got to that place for such a time as this. So in order for you to also leverage what God has placed inside of you so you can multiply it, which is scale, you've got to get clear on 3 things. You ready? You got a pen? Because listen, if you ever are with me, you should always have a pen. Number 1, you've got to remember who you are. One of my favorite scenes from Black Panther was right after King T'Challa. Y'all remember this? King T'Challa had that fight, the first fight, I should say, against the Tiger King. I mean, the tiger, the Bear King, Jabari. Remember, he used to go, ooh, ooh, ooh. Whatever. Let me stop trying to make that noise and making myself look crazy. Anyway, he was fighting the Bear King in the movie and he fell. First, this is the first fight, right? You guys remember this? And literally, Angela Bassett said to King T'Challa as he was on the in the water, he fell out. She said, "Remember who you are." My horrible Angela Bassett African accent. Or Wakanda accent, I should say. So the very first thing I need you to do is remember who you are. So part of what I'm going to give you, and by the way, every week you know that I give you another layer to your journal. So in your week 5 journal, which I'm going to put in my Facebook group, you see it scrolling down there at the bottom of the screen. The brilliancetribe.com is where you go to get your journal. So by the way, you can get a journal from week 1, 2, 3, any weeks you've missed. It's all there in the file section there in my Facebook group. So this week, I one of the things I have you do is your already done list. You know, what's interesting to me is in this journey, we forget all the things we've already accomplished. We forget who we already are. So whatever that is for you, maybe you went to college and you have a degree. Great. That goes on your already done list. Maybe you're a mom, you've had kids. Great. Already done list. Maybe your kids graduated from high school and you got them out the house. Great. Already done list. You know, I think about myself. I have a master's degree. Great. Already done list. I've been an adjunct professor. Great. Already done list. I've gotten a certification in coaching. Great. Already done list. You know, you forget about awards you won and accomplishments you've made. You've won awards at work. You've gotten raises at work. You've done things in your life, and we forget to celebrate who we already are. So that's the first thing. So part of what you've been through is that thing that you've already done. God will use that in your pivot. See, what happens is in life, God is always growing you into your next. Because if you were done, you'd be dead. Sorry, straightforward. We'd be at your funeral, but you're not done yet. So because you're not done, what God does is he takes you through a pivot to grow and leverage that gift on the next level. That's the scale. That's to be fruitful and multiply. You understand that? So even if I look at my own journey, and I told my story the first week, I worked in entertainment, loved it, loved every minute of it, and felt in conflict because something felt like it was missing. I'm like, hold on, I love my job. How can I feel like this? Well, what was happening is God was calling me into a pivot to leverage who I already was so he could scale it and grow it. I didn't know then, but I'd be doing this, that I'd be serving thousands of women all over the world. I didn't know that. But what I had to be clear on is who I already was because all God did was use that. Matter of fact, there's a story in Genesis 12, 1 through 2, Abraham. Now, the thing that I think is so interesting is anytime God uses somebody great in the Bible, he changes their name. Do you guys not realize that? Because see, he's not coming for who you already are. He's coming for the next best version of you. That's the pivot. So Esther's name was Hadassah. She became Esther. Abraham's original name is Abram. God changed his name, just like Paul was Saul. I can go on and on and on about all these name changes that happen in the Bible. No coincidence, y'all. So even in, and I'm not going to read the whole story, where my Bible just go, but in Romans, Genesis 12, 1 through 2, 1 and 2, and I'm giving you guys these Bible verses so you can go back and read them. Because listen, without faith, it's impossible to please God. This is why I do these Amplify Your Brains Mondays, because you can work on your business and work on your business and work on your business, but without faith, it's impossible to please God. Without you understanding your gift and really leveraging it to scale it, it's impossible to please God because God put you here on purpose. And for those of you that are not clear what your purpose is, you're not clear how to leverage it, I'm starting a special series on Thursday only in my Facebook group called My Pivot Move. 4 weeks, free. I'll be doing it every Thursday night at 7 p.m., same exact time in my Facebook group. Again, it's scrolling at the bottom of the screen, the Brilliance Tribe. All you got to do is join. And yes, we ask you questions to join because I want to make sure that you are in the right place. Because listen, if you're going to get to your for such a time as this year, you got to know what are you leveraging and how and why. And you've got to be clear. And where I see so many women fall short in their businesses is they lack clarity. If that's you, I'm talking directly to you and I'm inviting you to join me on Thursday, 7 p.m. EST. So anyway, read Abraham's story. It starts at chapter 12, but here's the part I want to in Genesis. Read this real quick because my goal is always to be here with you for 30 minutes. Quick, almost like a shot of faith to get you through your week. Now, the Lord said to Abram, get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. Again, God is calling Abram to pivot, to leave familiar, to go into unknown so he can grow his gift. And he says, and when you do, I will make your name great. What does that mean? See, it's not about popularity, y'all. But when your name is great, that means you're serving many people. He says, and you shall be a blessing. That's how that ends. And that's the same call God is giving you. When you're fruitful and multiply, when you leverage who you already are and you grow it, that is how you're fruitful and multiply. Okay. So step one is remember who you are. I give you great homework called my already done list. Again, I'll put the download in the Brilliance tribe. That's number one. The second thing is I need you to realize that pain has paid you. I said it. Pain has paid you. Now I heard this in a sermon. It was so good. I was like, oh, I got to write this down. So anytime you've gone through a challenge, something's hurt, it's either done one of two things. You either have become better or you've become bitter. If you're bitter, you're stuck there. That means you haven't learned the lesson. And when you're bitter, what happens is it'll repeat over and over and over until you learn the lesson. So listen, I kept dating the same man over and over. At first, I kept saying all men are this and all men are that. And I realized, no. I need to learn the lesson and realize that I was undervaluing who I was, just like many of you are undervaluing your gift. So I really want you to look at what lessons you've learned, even if you've had a boss that you could not stand. I remember working at a job, and this is when I had started this business. And I always teach you how to build your business alongside your 9 to 5, because listen, you need to be able to pay your bills and eat while you're building your business. And that business was like, that job, it was like torture. I hated my boss. Hate to say hate, but I hated my boss. And I promise you, every day he did something that made me want to quit, but I knew I couldn't. And I kept saying, God, show me the lesson. And it began to humble me. It began to shift my attitude. As Michelle Obama says, when they go low, you go high. I learned the skill of going high when he would act a complete fool. I got so good at it that I remember my coworkers would be like, did you hear what he just said to you? I heard him. But the one thing I knew is nobody was going to steal my ticket to heaven. And listen, I'm from Inglewood, California. Those of you that are familiar with Inglewood, I wanted to cuss him out because she's still present. Trust. That's what I grew up in and around and up and through. But I knew nothing good could come of that. And there was a lesson for me to learn there. I learned so much in the 2 years. It was 2 years that I worked under him. Then he didn't get fired. He got demoted into a whole nother department. I got a new boss, and she was so phenomenal that when it was time for me to quit, when God finally gave me my tap on the shoulder and said, okay, you can quit now. When my revenue, my business finally got to a place where I was really leveraging and I was really scaling, I had got to a place of predictable 6 figures where I could quit. I remember how hard she cried. I'm only sharing that with you because I learned so many lessons in the place that I knew I had to sit still and learn humility, learn how to submit to someone else's authority, even if I didn't agree with them. Because as I submitted to his authority, I was honoring God. And I talked about that last week, by the way. Okay. So I want you to really take a moment and look at every lesson you learned. And if there are still things you're bitter about, I want you to get underneath that and take some time to really understand or not even how you grew from that experience. And if you haven't yet grown because you've been being bitter, now listen, I remember, and this is real talk, my last boyfriend before my husband was such a horrible black breakup. It was publicly humiliating. Publicly, could have been. But I stopped and I was rolling on the floor. Never forget. Oh, I was having a rolling on the floor moment crying. And I said to myself, stop it. Wait a minute. God will never bless me with that. So let me get clear on a lesson that I need to learn, and I'm not going back there. As soon as I said that, I promise you, with God as my witness, I met my husband the next day because I learned the lesson. I started learning them quicker, sooner, faster, instead of staying bitter, rolling on the floor. Now, trust when I met Daryl, I still cried a little bit, but I realized that Daryl was my blessing. So as you keep your eyes on the prize, on the goal of why God called you here, right? God, I should have looked. There's a Bible verse that talks about that. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up real quick. It just dropped in my spirit. So with that, I have one more step, but hold on. That's what happens, y'all, when you one of y'all might write it. Look, I'm more committed to giving you what you need than for me to have it all. Here it is. So it's Philippians 3:14. I press on. That's not it. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. And I really want you to get this because it really will take you keeping your eyes on the prize and pressing toward it. Pressing when nothing feels like you should press, when everything feels like you should quit, when everything feels like, oh, no, she didn't. Yeah, you need to press. And so, literally looking at how pain has paid you in the lesson that you learned. Okay, so here it is. It's Philippians 3:13 and 14. Brethren, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are ahead, I press toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. See, each of us were put here called. Yo, you're called. And a calling is not for just somebody that serves in the church. It's not just for a minister. And by the way, ministry, if you look up the definition, has service in it. So all of us were put here to serve a group of people that need us. My question is, are you willing to let go of the pain of your past so you can move into the breathtaking future God has waiting for you? Can you learn the lesson? Can you grow? See, I believe God look, the Bible verse says all things work together for the good. Not some things, not a few things. It's like you've got to go through the refiner's fire, just like diamond. A diamond would never be a diamond if it didn't go through fire. And in that same way, the pain has paid you because it taught you a great lesson. Hey, Rosalind, right? And so you've got to stop. So number 2 is I want you to really get clear on the lessons that you've learned. And if you haven't yet learned a lesson, let this week be my invitation for you to sit with everything that hurts you and find what the lesson is in that. Because God is intentional. It may not feel good, but it's always for your good. Okay. And then the third thing you've got to understand is when you remember who you are and you see the gifts that you have, the way that you leverage the scale is you stop wasting it. You realize every lesson, everything has come to teach you a great lesson, to grow you. Listen, who I am today, how I can walk and not let things get to me like they used to, which happens in my business too, y'all. Even though I learned lessons in relationships, I learned lessons in my previous career, I learned lessons with my bonus children, I learned lessons in every place. All that growth is the same growth that the CEO, Nicole Roberts Jones, gets to actually activate in my business as I'm working with team, as I'm working with contractors, as I'm negotiating deals. And so I need you to understand that none of that is wasted unless you're wasting it. And those of you that want the tools to activate it, join me on Thursday, 7 p.m. Again, where I'll be live is in my Facebook group, thebrilliancetribe.com. And as I do every week, I give you a journal assignment. So every week, hitting my mic, I'm doing all kinds of stuff trying to pick up my journal. Every week I give you a journal. So we're starting theme 2, right? Every week I give you a journal assignment. So I told you this week 1, I encourage you to buy an actual journal with, just a book with blank pages there so you can write. I give you some things to reflect on every week. Why? Because if you're going to activate the level of faith you will need to be all that God has purposed you to do, you're going to need to do the work. Listen, I wish that I could hire a trainer that would go work out at the gym for me, but it does not work like that. Wish it did. Wish I could sit back and go, girl, yeah, do some extra crunches. Well, girl, can you run on the treadmill 20 more minutes? But it doesn't work like that. So the breathtaking future that God has planned for you won't come just because it has your name on it. You've got to work for it. The question is, what will you do to go after it? Those of you that are ready, then join me Thursday so I can give you tools. Again, it's my pivot move. We're going to start week 1 is standing out in a crowded market. I'm going to talk to you about the clarity, about getting clear on the gift that's in you that makes you stand out and how you begin to determine what that is. So, with that, I'll be live with you on Thursday. And again, those of you see it scrolling at the bottom of the screen, I am here with you every Monday at 7 p.m. to give you tools to activate your faith as you start and or grow your business. If anything I've shared is valuable to you, number one, I always want you to post the one thing you got out of today. If you have questions, post them here. I'll start our next episode answering your questions. If you ever have questions, please always post your questions. The third thing I want to ask you to do is click on the bottom button here in Facebook and share. Share if you got any value out of this conversation. So I'll be back with you on Monday for another Amplify Your Brains Monday, continuing to give you tools again that the faith that's going to really help you grow your business. The tools to grow your business, I'll give those to you on Thursday in as I start a 4-week series called My Pivot Move, starting this Thursday. So if you're watching the replays this Thursday, February 4th, and you can always come back and watch a replay if you miss me live. So as it's been an honor and a privilege to join you. I'll see you next Monday for another episode of Amplify Your Brilliance Mondays.